This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Dr. Clay Lowder suggests we answer a few questions before reading his book, Winners Travel. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you have a game plan for the rest of your life? Do you need a guide? Do you wish you had a coach? Would you like a simple system to change yourself and your family? Are you ready and willing to make a change? Clay Lowder has developed the concept of Winners Travel to help his patients live healthy lives mentally, spiritually, and physically. One trip to the doctor could change your life. Let Clay's passion and enthusiasm for life show you how you can make easy changes and start living your best life possible. Valeria interviews Dr. Clay Lowder, the author of Winners Travel, a doctor's guide to mental, physical, and spiritual health. Clay Lowder is a family physician, author, motivational speaker, coach, and farmer. Clay's mission is to change lives mentally, physically, and spiritually by speaking, writing, and counseling. Clay's whole life has been dedicated to helping people, whether it be doctoring, farming, coaching, or being a father and husband. He is now beginning to spread his career of helping people with his new book and public speaking. His central mission is to change lives. Meet Dr. Clay on claylowder.com and winnerstravel.org. Here is the interview with Dr. Clay Lowder.
In your own words, who is Clay Lowder?
Clay Lowder that's a good question. I think I'm a multifaceted guy. I'm a family practice doctor, but I grew up in a farm, and I also love to farm, and I farm about 2,000 acres in South Carolina. I'm a softball coach, and I've coached my kids all throughout their years in sports. And I'm also a motivational speaker, and I'm just proud of that's the new phase of my life where I'm trying to move into inspiring others and just encouraging them kind of where they are.
It sounds really wonderful to me. And I have some questions here specifically about your work, your book, Winners Travel, a doctor's guide to mental, physical, and spiritual health. So I have some quotes from your book that I really, really liked, but I'll get to that in a moment. Before that, let me ask you these open questions. The first one is the meaning of true health. What is that? What would that be from your perspective?
Well, I moved back home to a small town of Sumter, South Carolina, and I started my own family practice 25 years ago, and it was called Lowder Family Practice. And on the back of that brochure, I just put that true health was the blending of the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. And to really be healthy, you needed all three. I didn't want to just be a doctor you came for a cold or Z-Pack. I wanted to be a doctor that treated the whole person. And I'm really proud that my whole motto and whole business has grown out of that. I have about 400 employees now, and it's now Colonial Healthcare, and we have one of the largest practices in South Carolina. And I think it grew out of us understanding that patients need more than just a doctor to come in there and write them a prescription. They needed somebody to be their friend, to look them in the eye, to know about their family, to help them not only physically, but spiritually and mentally. So that was my first, I guess, motto of health. And I put that to good use, I think.
Spiritual health, what does it look like to be spiritually healthy?
Well, it's, in these times and everything is so political, it even seems to me that spiritual matters are political now, and you have to be very careful. But I just ask people to have perspective, to believe that we're all here for a higher power and a higher reason and for somebody other than ourselves. So I ask my patients just to take 5 minutes a day, just to slow down, put your phone down, and just be alone. Pray if you want to, but just be alone. Get a good book. There's some good books I recommend to my patients, and I ask them just to read really slowly. Just read 2 or 3 pages and just think about what you're reading and study a little bit the science of life and just I guess it just gives you an attitude of gratitude and just be thankful. Make a list of the top 3 things you're thankful for in the morning and ruminate on those all day. And it just gives me peace in my life. I'm a Christian, and it's a big part of my life, but I encourage other people just to take some time and be thankful and just fill their body. And I think they become a little more spiritual the more they do it and the more they kind of get used to practicing that a little bit. It's a simple technique. It's not anything that's thrown at them or pushed at them, but it's just simple. And I find that my patients really enjoy talking about those type of things.
What do you think or feel is the purpose of the human experience?
The older I get, the more purpose, the biggest purpose is to help others, is to be there for other people. I think I say in my book that there's a surefire way to cure depression, and that is to find somebody who needs help and help them. And it is a guiding force in my life. If not, the human mind will go to its default motion of being negative and being depressed. I think it's normal for all of us to feel sad at some times. I like to quote some, in the Bible, they said Jesus was the man of sorrows. So to me, the human condition is sometimes that of suffering and of sorrows. And so how do we deflect that? And that's by helping other people and making it your main purpose. You'll find that other people are not as fortunate as you are, and they're way worse off than you are. So I just try to encourage my patients I got a perfect job because I get to help people all day, but I encourage them to find that. And I find that that's the meaning of life, is when I'm doing for others, then I'm not depressed and I'm happy, and I'm a better family man. I'm better with my wife. I'm better with every relationship by just helping other people and getting that proper perspective.
Where, what, and who is God to you?
That's good. Let's see. Let me think 1 second. Well, I hope and pray that there is a higher being. I was counseling a patient the other day that's really sick and dying. And he asked me about that, and he's not really been a Christian. He's kind of dabbled in a little bit spiritual, and he just asked me some simple questions, very similar to what you're saying. And I said, hey, look, I don't know if this stuff's 100% true or not. I don't think anybody knows. I said, but I have peace in my heart while I'm here on earth because I feel like I'm serving a higher purpose and a father-like figure in a God who, in my faith and my religion, sent his son to die for my sins. And the grace that he gives me and the love that he gives me, it honors him and gives me the opportunity to pass that on to other people. And that understanding of grace is what makes me believe that there is a God and there is a father-like figure, and he's here to love us and help us. Some other religions are dependent. It seems to me, I've studied them, it's dependent on your works and your ability to perform as a human. And Christianity is all about grace because it gives you forgiveness for the most part. That's a broad statement, but in general, that grace of Christianity is what the religion, that sinks the most in with me and makes me believe in it the most. And I'm not sure where God came from. That's what I'm going to ask him first question is, where in the world did you come from? And how did you get here? Because that's one of my big questions. And so I love to think about it, and I love to ponder it. And that's a great question.
What do you love most about being in a human body?
I love the outdoor feeling that my body gets when I'm outdoor in nature and I'm by myself one-on-one with God or with a family member, and I'm enjoying the great outdoors and exercising, or whether I'm fishing a little bit or just getting away, and I'm enjoying what my body can do athletically, sweating a little bit, getting the cobwebs out of my head, and then I just feel refreshed and new, and then I'm ready to go help somebody else. So I think that being able to rekindle and refresh in the outdoors is big for me and my family.
The next one is about the challenges we have been facing in 2020. Not just challenges, but changes too. So my question is, at this time, what do you think is the world's greatest need? And I have another one. Do you have a vision for a new reality after 2020?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I love to predict the future.
Great.
My favorite movie is Back to the Future. And I love that somebody took the time to connect the 1950s with the 2000s and beyond and what it looks like. So I love to kind of think through that movie and how somebody creatively had to think through that, and why shouldn't we be thinking that way? So that's my little diatribe on that. But so I feel the world today needs to quit thinking about themselves and start thinking about other people. And we're so caught up in ourselves, and even to the point where we're offended over every little thing, what you might believe versus what I might believe. And I think we got to get to the point to realize that other people, they need us. They need us, and we need to be engaged with them. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what your background or spiritual upbringing is. It doesn't matter. We need to be in there together as human beings. As you can see, we can divide really quickly and get offended over nothing. And, my daddy always told me, just be tough and have some thick skin. Let some of that roll off your back. Don't believe everything you think, just kind of let it go a little bit. And if you are helping other people, there is no way you can see skin color or problems or backgrounds or spiritual differences. You have to ignore it because you're trying to really focus on helping that other people and not helping yourself. And I can't say enough. I think that's the number one problem. We got to find somebody needs help and help them. And that's why I've started this winter's travel movement. It is a movement, and I'm giving away free trips to caretakers, to people who take care of other people all day, every day, and they can't travel and be blessed like I can. And so I love that show, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, where they give them a home. I cry every single time. And I said, I want to do something with my life like that. And so I've created this Winter's Travel Foundation. I would love some donations, because any money I get, I'm going to go to giving a caretaker a special trip somewhere in the U.S. or the islands, and just going out there and giving them that trip. It'll just bring tears to your eyes to watch it. And it unites us, in this day and time, it unites us. And that's exactly more of the things that we need going on.
What is the meaning of freedom to you? What is to be free?
Boy, you are good. You are good. I like that somebody has thought through these things, because people misunderstand freedom. They think that freedom is their right to do anything that they want to. The freedom is the opposite. The freedom is sacrifice of myself, the giving of myself, so that you may experience life to its fullest and do anything you want to and please. So that sacrifice is freedom to me. And so people say, oh, I have the right to do anything I want to. Yeah, well, yes, you do. If you go by the strict definition, that's right. But what it really means is, how can I help other people? How can I sacrifice my life so that you may do that? That you may do that. Like, I sacrifice and work every day so that my kids have the freedom to go to college. And it was an important value in our life, but I sacrificed for their freedom. Now they don't understand it either.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but
Not yet.
but I think people just misinterpret that, don't you think?
What I wonder when you talk about helping others, it's really, I mean, it's the most profound thing that we all know to be true, which is to help others to be more selfless. But I wonder how we can balance helping others and helping ourselves at the same time. Do you think it's possible?
I do. I do a lot of different things in my life. And so variety, I mean, I'm a farmer, I'm a doctor, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, I'm a motivator. And so I do a variety of things to balance my life out. And I do think you need some quiet time every day. You need to be by yourself every day. You need to read every day. It's a lost art. And I try to read every single day of my life. I'm a voracious reader, and I'm better off because of it. And I think that gives you the perspective you need. And then when I'm by myself and I exercise, I do a 10-minute exercise routine. I don't exercise for an hour. I do 10 minutes, and I do the high-intensity interval training where I'll, walk for 2 minutes. Then I run for 30 seconds, walk for 2 minutes, run for 30 seconds. At 10 minutes, I'm done. So I don't burn out. So, and I think that's better for our bodies than working out for 45 minutes strenuously, like running for an hour or so. And I highly recommend that to my patients all day. I mean, I'll even do it feeding the chickens. I'll run and, pause for 20 seconds, then I'll run and then feed this chicken and then run and feed my horse. And, I just do it on the farm. So it's a little lighter, but I get balanced by reading. I get balanced by quiet time. I get balanced by exercising and then being outdoors. And then I do treat myself. I love to travel. That's, some of the book titles. I'm always planning the next vacation. And so I do reward my hard work with some travel. I love to go to Clemson Tiger football games and, really cheer and be passionate and kind of displace my negative thoughts by pulling for my team. And we've been really good the past 5 years. So that's kind of, I guess that's the way you get balance because people will, if you help them all day, every day like I do, it can get to you at times and you have to watch it.
What is love to you?
Love is time, simply just time and effort. Just if you care about somebody where you really love them, you put nothing but time and effort and energy into focusing totally on them. And then that's what kind of creates that special bond where you're inseparable and that they'll love you for life. Like I love my patients, I love my wife, I love my kids. And all of that is I put time into them and I breathe energy into them and share them. I send them encouraging texts. I think about them during the day. I know my wife's shoe size and bra size and everything. And so every piece of clothing and jewelry my wife has is because I bought it for her. So I just think putting that time and effort into all your relationships is what love's all about to me.
Unconditional love. Let's talk about love in general. Is that possible to love others unconditionally, even before we love ourselves unconditionally?
Oh, man. I thought you were asking about winter's travel. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I love it. I love to be challenged. I would say it's possible, but it's very difficult. I think you can do it. It takes a special person. I believe there's a few unique people that can honestly do that. I think I strive for that, where I love somebody without any, thought of return on my investment. But I'm not sure I can quite do that 100%. I think there's some people I think throughout history that have been able to do that. And I think that is a huge, huge gift. My communication is words of affirmation is my, love language. And so I need that from other people. And so it's very difficult for me to, when I do something, my acts of service or some kindness for somebody and they don't give me the words back. And so I worry that interferes with my ability to unconditionally love. But I'll study that one. That's a good one. That'll make me think.
Let's talk about your work. And my first question had to be this one. How did you become a writer, Clay?
My mom is an English PhD. And she always made us read when I didn't want to. And I became addicted to it, and I love to write. I just think somebody in medical school taught me that a written man is a learned man, and meaning that when we write, we think differently. And I think this generation with iPads and phones, it's going to hurt. I mean, there are just writings all over my desk and stuff. When something comes to me, I just write it. And I had notes before my house burned last year. I had notes everywhere and I even had another book written. So it's kind of sad to lose that handwritten stories. I love stories. Jesus taught in stories. I talk in stories. And I guess I just had in the back of my mind, I need to put that all together in a work. And so that's where Winter's Travel came from.
What about the title of the book? What was the inspiration for that?
Well, Clemson football team was playing in Atlanta in a big game, the Kickoff Classic in 2012. And my brother, Dr. Milt Lowder, who is a sports psychologist for the Clemson team, told me this story. Our coach, Dabo Sweeney, is just legendary for trying to build young boys into men. And I love his style. And, that's his primary goal. And winning football games comes second to him. Well, he brought in Evander Holyfield, who's people are out of the boxing realm, but he was the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, and what an outstanding guy. He's got a foundation, and all he does is help young men these days. But Evander told the team that night, and my brother called me and said, "You're not going to believe this. You got to hear it." And he said, "Look," he said, "boys, just because you came here to Atlanta tonight, you're winners, because winners travel. Winners travel. And, always, have a vacation or plan where you want to go in life and see something and always travel." Well, I kind of was thinking back to that true health definition, and it just flew all over me that's it. Winner's Travel, a doctor's guide to mental, physical, and spiritual health. I just tied it in together with true health. Like, where are you going? It's not just traveling to the islands. It's like, what's your game plan of your life? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you need a guide? Do you need a coach? Do you need some goal setting? And so the whole book is about game planning your life with an athletic type mindset. Like, what do I want to see before I die? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to talk to? What do I want to tell my mom and dad or my parents? Life is short. I lost my dad this year. You better say it now. You better plan it now. You better go now. And just written goals and a solid game plan is a winner's travel life. And I sure have enjoyed this book and giving it to my patients and letting them share a part of my life and some of the miracles I've seen in life. And it's just been a neat experience.
So what would you say to people who have lost their relative ones, their loved ones? And how did you cope with that loss, Clay?
Well, my dad had Alzheimer's for many years, and they put him in we had to put him in a nursing home, and he died of COVID, but it was not the disease. He died of COVID isolation. And by the time they let me in the nursing home, he'd lost 35 pounds and just didn't even look like the same man. And it just broke my heart. They finally let me in, and he died that day. And I really had prayed for God to take him. His mind had been gone for so long. But when you lose your father, my father was an excellent daddy to me. It hurt. It hurt me beyond belief. I did not realize it was going to hurt me that bad, because I was his caretaker. I was his doctor. I was his, I took care of every medical need too. And so it took a part of me. I think it's changing me. I can feel it right now. And so I'm kind of learning this as I go, of how to help others with the loss of a parent or loved one, especially with COVID and with the isolation. The isolation is, to me, as worse or bad than the COVID is, because we kind of miss that as a society. We're in the United States and we have freedom. We should be letting at least one person go to the hospital and visit these people who are dying. At least one family member visit the nursing home. Enter at your own risk, cover up best you can. But that isolation is killing us as a society, in my opinion. As far as helping people cope with grief and illness, I mean, I do that all the time. I pray with my patients. I sit down and talk with them. I get them to go back and make lists of things that are right. Something about a loved one that was a special time in their life, or something funny they did, and what they're grateful for that person taught them. So we sit down and we make a little journal, we make some notes and write it, and it just seems to help people to write when they feel that despair and despondency and it's over and over in their head.
Why did you become a family physician, Clay?
When I went to medical school, I was going to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. And then when I got there, I switched to orthopedic surgery. I did really well in school. And so I was at the top of my class and thought I was going to do all these high flying things. But I just loved every piece of medicine. I just loved all of it. All of it. I couldn't let one piece of it go from my life. And somebody told me a long time ago, said, man, if you're going to be a doctor, you need to be a dang doctor. You need to be a dang doctor, and you need to take care of people. And that just flew all over me. And I said, I don't want to be a professional doctor that just does one thing all day. I want to take care of people. And it just suit my personality. And so I think the Lord led me down that path, and I've never looked back, and I've been so thankful to be a family doctor, and I love being a family doctor.
And that leads to a quote that you have written in your book: everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
So that's what you believe in? Every single thing, even the COVID-19, everything that's happening, it's happening for a reason. Would you say a good reason?
That's chapter 1. Everything happens for a reason. And chapter 1 starts with me at my favorite beach where I was vacationing on my family. And then a series of events, at least 10 different events, led me to be sitting in my truck when my wife pulls up to the patrol gate and the squelcher goes off, that there's a 5-year-old boy that fell in the pool and was drowning, and that they needed the emergency medical system to come. Well, they were 30 minutes away. And my wife called me, and I was in the truck, and I rolled that boy over a minute later. And for me to be there, I'm not going to spoil the book because that's chapter 1, just confirmed my deep conviction and belief that everything happens for a reason. Sometimes the best thing that happens to you is the worst thing that happens to you. I don't want to spoil the book. If you want to learn more, read this book. Yeah. But my son was diagnosed with borderline autism, and just this past Saturday, he graduated from Clemson University. And I quoted that on Facebook. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you ends up being the best thing that happens to you. And so learning that is an attitude of gratitude. It really is, to believe that even something as horrific as a pandemic can be one of the best things that may eventually unify our country or help us together. Having that belief and that expectancy that the best is yet to come is a way of life for me, and it's a winner's travel life, and that's what I'm encouraging everybody to believe.
Yeah, to be open to that, right?
That's right.
Because the more open we are, the more possibilities we see, right?
That's right. That's right.
Talk to me for a moment about physical health in general. What are some of your best advice for physical health?
Well, as far as going to the doctor for the way I believe I doctor, or you're asking for physical health in general for the way you live each day?
In general, I would say as a lifestyle.
Well, I believe everything in moderation. I really think a huge part of our lives need to be a focus on our diet. That I think food is poison,
Wow.
especially with the wrong dose. And I always try to think, 20, 30 years ago, the doctors smoked. And they would smoke in the office when you went to see them and stuff. And they were like, you wouldn't dare go to a doctor that was smoking in the room now. So I always try to think, what's the smoking of the future going to be? Is it going to be bread? And can you believe the doctors ate bread or Coca-Cola? Or can you believe the doctors drank soft drinks? Something's going to come out with that. And I believe we're going to study some of these preservatives in food. I'm not a freak of any nature about worrying about this too much, but I predict that we're going to really learn about some of the bad things that we're putting in our body just to, just so we can eat fast food and other products. So food is my number one recommendation that you need to change I like to eat 6 or 7 times a day. I'm not perfect, but I strive to do that. And I think being frugal when you're eating and avoiding high carb, high sugar diet and eating in moderation is important. I like the HIIT training for exercise, at least 3 to 5 times a week where you get out and go for 10 minutes. And I really support, tons of water drinking. I think a drinking of alcohol is okay as long as it's moderation. I think an Oreo cookie is okay every now and then, as long as it's 1 or 2 and you don't eat the whole box. I got to be careful. I'll eat the whole box. So that's what I recommend.
Some people, they believe that the vegetarian, vegan, plant-based diets are the best for health. Do you agree with that somewhat?
I do. I believe the evidence is more and more supporting that. And I think once we really get some studies out about some of these foods and how bad they're for you, people will really start turning to that more and more. It's just a little bit time consuming, and that's what's driven all these bad foods our way, is that we do it for convenience. We want to eat out of convenience, and we really need to sit down and do meal prep and prep our foods. And so I think that'll take on in the next 20 years as well. So that's a good prediction.
And another question I have is about your best advice. So I guess I have a lot of questions here with your best advice, 4 or 2. So for quitting bad habits.
Yes. I mean, I think number one for quitting bad habits is you have got to just absolutely set a goal that you're going to quit it. You got to know what you're where you're going with it. And so I think the number one way you quit a bad habit is write on your mirror. Write on your mirror. My daughter, Liza, taught me how to write on my mirror. And I didn't even know you could do that, but she got me one of those dry erase markers. And my sister is a great example of quitting bad habits. She wrote on her mirror, I am going to quit smoking February the 3rd because I love Charlie Bott, her only son. And so we started working in November on her mind, and she read that aloud twice a day, every day, even if she didn't believe it. She read it out loud. So we set an urgent, emotional goal. It's huge. And then she had smoked a lot. So we used Chantix, which is a receptor blocker, which is really helps smokers quit. She took that for 3 months. She set an urgent emotional goal. And on February 3rd, this is 4 years ago, she quit smoking. She has never picked up another one.
Wow.
So I encourage people every day. I'm a weight loss doctor. I encourage them to lose weight, and we do it as natural as we can. I do help them with chemicals sometimes, but for the most part, setting that urgent emotional weight goal. I am going to weigh this much, buy this much because I love them, or I'm going to quit this. So set the goal. Don't be scared to fail. I think I quoted in the book Michael Jordan. I have a poster sitting over my head right now where Michael Jordan said he failed over and over and over, and that's why he succeeds. And if Michael Jordan can fail, I think the greatest ball player of all time, certainly Clay Lowder can, and I can get back up and try again. Most smokers quit after their 3rd attempt. So I'm just a constant encourager. I'm a constant coach of, hey, get back up. You're all right. Let's try it again. Let's pick another goal, another date. Let's put another date on it and write it on your mirror. So that would be my recommendation.
I love that. And I never heard it that way, setting the emotional goal. I call it meaningful goals. But yeah, that makes so much sense to me, of course.
Man, when she added her son's name to that,
wow.
She couldn't hardly say it without crying.
Right.
And that emotional goal in somebody, like I'm going to do this with that much passion, you cannot overcome a person like that. They're so steadfast, determined. It's unbelievable.
The next question is about your best advice for financial health.
Financial health. Yes. I've always been interested in money and the science of money, and how that plays into all this is very difficult, and I'm still learning. Yeah. I'm not perfect at money part of it. I don't care one thing about it, is what I've learned. As I get older, I could care less if I have any money. Now, I like to keep score. I'm a competitive athletic guy, so I like to keep score and see how much how well I can do in life. but my best advice on money is really, really keep it simple. And number one, set a goal. Pick how much money you want, how much money you want to make a year. I always recommend to get 3 checking accounts automatically. If you make $1,000 a paycheck, then you take out of that $1,000 10%, put it in one bank account, which is your savings account. So you save 10%. Then I tithe 10%. That's important to me. I put it in a tithing account. End of the year, I write a tithing account to my church and my charities. And so I have those 3 bank accounts. And over time, especially for young people, I recommend that they take their money and put it in the stock market. And, I don't give specific financial advice, but over time, over 30, 40 years, you can't beat just an index fund in the stock market, in the U.S. stock market. Over time, it has beat everything other kind of investments. As I've gotten older, I've invested in real estate. So that's my number one recommendation, is to just take time and do it, and just save as much as you can, hopefully more than 10%, and then set up a game plan for financial as much as you do anything else.
Yeah. And this is something that we, especially women, for some reason, we don't talk about often, money and how to save it and spend it.
That's a great thing, because I do have a lot of women that are single, or they're single moms trying to make ends meet, and it's very difficult for them to save. And we set up this automatic plan where they can just put their money into a pool, and the next thing you know, it builds up over time. And they're shocked after 5 years of doing this, like, oh man, look how I'm doing and saving and stuff. So you're right. That's a great point.
Another thing powerful that you said was you become the top 5 people you hang out with. So this is very true from my perspective too, but I would like to ask you this question. What is to be a good friend?
You are challenging me, and I love it. All right. To be a good friend, I really think it goes back to the love definition of time. It requires your effort and dedication and thinking about them more than you think about yourself, and just pouring effort into their lives. Listening. Good listening is a skill that people need to learn how to do with good friends, and just to be there for them. Sometimes you don't really have to tell your friend everything what to do. Sometimes you have to listen to the way they want to do things. So I guess that's my definition. I'll have to think on that one as well.
I think you made a comment in your book. You talk about hope and how it is connected to healing, physical, mental, and spiritual, but then also sense of humor, which is so true. So talk to me about how having a sense of humor is connected to hope. And also you mentioned becoming a good listener.
Yes. Well, I mean, I consider myself a healer, and I do it quite differently than most doctors. I joke with almost all my patients. I know their hobbies. I know their football team. I know if they like NASCAR because we're in the South, or I am intentional about learning something about somebody else that I can relate to them. And I had such a excellent education, not only from Clemson, but my dad, and growing up on a farm, and having to work together with people, that I learned to be able to joke with anybody at any time. And I think my patients love me for that. They can sit down and talk to me about everything. 2 or 3 of them told me jokes today. And just, hey, did you hear the one about this? And I just laugh with them. And I even got in trouble one time in medical school because they told me I wasn't being formal enough, that I was laughing, at my patients. And I said, sir, you are wrong. I am laughing with my patients, and I'm laughing at myself. So I set out to prove that guy wrong, and here I am 30 years later still laughing with them. So you got to have hope to heal. So much of what we do is very, in medicine, a lot of what we do is wrong. I mean, you can look at Corona and look at some of the treatments that we have no idea. They said 50% of what they taught me in medical school was wrong. Well, which 50%, So there's a whole nother element to human healing, and it has to do with hope and expectancy. And sometimes people just need to come in and air it out they have severe anxiety that goes along with their disease, and I have to kind of calm them down. And once I get that body calm, that mind calm, that body can heal. And that mind's got to believe it first. It's just like that urgent emotional goal. It's just like that attitude of gratitude. All that connects to healing in my view. And humor is a huge part of it, because if I can make you laugh, you can't think about your troubles and laugh at the same time. You just can't do it. So that's my Southern I like to tell little anecdotes and stories to my patients to make them laugh. And so it's worked for me.
We're almost at the end. I have a few more questions for you. Before I ask them, would you like to add anything, read a passage in your book, or talk a bit more about the winner's travel concept?
Number one, I want to thank you for having me, for picking me. I'm honored to be on your journey. I love your work. I think you're doing a great job, and you're serving people by at least putting yourself out there and being bold enough to have a platform and to ask the tough questions. Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of these, and you've done an excellent job. These are great questions, and you've made me think today. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. And you're a friend now. You're a friend now. So
thank you. Oh, wow.
I have enjoyed it, and I just like to add value to others' lives. This is what I want to do my next 30 years. This is my goal, to inspire just millions of people by telling the winner's travel lifestyle and story. And my book's got a couple of miracles in it that really happened to me that are beyond anything in medicine that I could have seen. One is a story of a 17-year-old asthma boy that came in and ended up on the ventilator, and I tried everything medical to get him out of it, and nothing worked. And I promise you, there was an angel in the emergency room that day. And the story will give you chills, and I would encourage your readers or your listeners to read it and just fill with the wonder and perspective of, hey, here's a doctor who doesn't believe 100% in the science. This guy believes mentally, physically, spiritually, there's something to all this more than just the science of it.
How do you define success these days? What is to be successful to you?
Oh, this is a layup. So success is pursuing a worthy goal. A worthy goal. It's not when you get the goal. I've obtained several goals in my life. I've obtained financial success. And when I got there, it was terrible. Mm-hmm. It was terrible. Way better. The journey's way better than when you reach the summit. So once you reach that goal, C.S. Lewis says, it's never too late to dream a new dream or set a new goal. And I remind myself that every single day. And I write new goals for myself all the time, daily goals, and I write yearly goals. You are successful when you are working towards a worthy idea or goal. So listeners, right now, I want you to take time today to write down 5 goals. Where are you going? What do you want to see? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? What's your life look like? What's your new house look like? What are your, young people? What's your kids look like? What do you want them to do? Where do you want to hang out? Who's your top 5 people? That's what the book's all about, and that's what I'm encouraging people to do it today. Put some urgency behind those goals and write them out. It'll change your life. I'm telling you, it'll change your life.
What was the hardest lesson to learn about yourself in life as of today?
The hardest lesson that I've learned is that I try to do everything. I feel like I'm one of the best people at motivating and helping people like this, and being the office, the managing partner of my busy practice, and seeing the patients. And I spread myself too thin, and you can't do it. You can't do everything. So that's the best lesson I've learned about life. And it took me forever to learn it, is that I have to delegate, and I have to get good people around me to do certain things. And certainly I might feel like I do that task better, than anybody else, but I have to be able to let go and let other people do. And also not to expect as much out of other people. Sometimes I expect them to be motivated and ready to go like I am, and everybody's not driven like me. And just to have that healthy, perspective of them and let them kind of get there on their own. That's another thing I've been frustrated with that I've learned lately.
And two more questions. If you knew you would die soon, meaning losing the body, would you make any change in your life or do anything in a different way?
That's good, because when your dad dies and you think this way, you do. And I have been intentional. I describe in my book two games you can play. One's called the compliment game that my son taught me, where you go around the room and give 3 compliments to each person. That's great to do with your family tonight. Do not wait on your obituary to hear what somebody thinks about you or what you think about someone else. Don't wait, And the other game is called a winner's travel dinner. You have got to do this. You go around the room at dinner and everybody tells their biggest weakness, then everybody tells their biggest strength. And then at the end, everybody goes around the room and tells them what they think about them. And there's no way you can do it without crying. I don't know anybody. So I wouldn't change anything, because I have learned this process over the years to where I have told almost everybody in my life what I think about them, either in a written word or in one of these games, and they know how Clay Lowder feels. So when my body's gone, I hope it's like, well done, my good and faithful servant. I hope I get that nod, because I have been very intentional about letting the people I know exactly what I think of them and how much I love them.
I love that answer. Yeah, every time I hear that, I wouldn't change anything when people say that. And I love these games too. And I'll practice with my husband. I don't have kids, but I'll practice with him.
You can try that winner's travel dinner. Weaknesses, strengths, and then, hey, you could even add, where do we want to be in 10 years? Let's game plan it out together. I did it with my wife on my honeymoon, and it's made all the difference.
That sounds good. Yeah. Hopefully he will. And you said, yeah, he will agree to that. He's playful though. Yeah, he should be okay.
Yes.
And my last question is, what are 3 things about life you know for sure as of now?
Well, I'll share this story with you. So last year on July the 1st, I had built a dream house with my wife, who was my high school sweetheart. And we built a house in the country in the middle of nowhere, and we just loved it. And had a tragic event happen. Our house burned to the ground while we were there, all of a sudden. And we were able to get out. I lost my little squirrel hunting dog, but that was it. And my family was good. I got everybody out of the fire, and it burned in 10 minutes. So I lost every material thing I had in 10 minutes. In fact, this is the last chapter of the book. And so I try to ask people all the time, if you only had 10 minutes, what would you say? Who would you call? What would you tell them? Who would you phone? Who would you say? What happened? So I guess my big things with that is I'm so thankful. I have the best life. I have an attitude of gratitude. I could care less about my house. I got to see my kids handle that in a mental, spiritual, and physical way that very few people get to see. I got to see my kids tell on Facebook Live what was important to them, and it wasn't a single thing about that house. And so I'm like, holy cow, Clay, you did good. You did good with these kids, So one is just an attitude of gratitude. I guess the second thing is I'm not as tough as I thought I was. I pride myself on being a Southern man and grow up tough on a farm, but I cried like a baby, and it got to me. And watching all these people bring me gifts and accepting their grace and love was very difficult for me. But I learned, I'm not as tough as I thought. And I learned, hey, you only got 10 minutes. You only got 10 minutes. Life is short. Do it today, Clay. Do it today. Let somebody know today how you feel for them, and find somebody who needs help and help them. And so it just kind of recommitted my life that this is my motto. This is my message. This is the way I hope to change the world and bring us all together. And so it just kind of affirmed those are the 3 things I know, I guess.
I love your wisdom. I love your presence. Genuine, honest, open. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Clay.
Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you for having me. I'm so grateful.
I have one more question, but this is a technical one. Where can we find more information about you, your books, products, services, and future projects?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, of course, I have a website. I have a winnerstravel.org website or claylowder.com. You can get the book Winners Travel on Amazon. I am on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and even LinkedIn. So I'm branching out. I'm trying to figure out all this technology, but I'm on all that stuff, and I'd love to hear some words of affirmation to your listeners. So please give me a little bit of feedback. I would love it.
Thank you so much again, Clay, and we'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Dr. Clay Lowder and his work, please visit claylowder.com and winnerstravel.org.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.